will continue to speak out for the basic rights of the Afghan people, especially women and girls, as we speak out for women and girls all around the globe.
Unbelievable. Joining me now, former Trump Deputy National Security Advisor KT McFarland. KT, appreciate you being here.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, Carl.
I wish it was on a better topic. However, you know, I was just talking about the fact that this is not a high bar to let women go to school, and yet the Party of Women's Rights was willing to hand this back over to a bunch of terrorists that are now beating women in the streets for trying to do addition?
Yeah, and the sad part of it is our unbelievably shambolic withdrawal from Afghanistan. None of the people in the Biden administration thought through what would happen next. They didn't think through, well, the Taliban is now going to be in charge. Well, the Taliban is now going to do to women what they have done historically to women. And to now have this, the Biden administration, they don't want to have anything to do with this topic because of their own failures. And it's not just Afghanistan, but if you look at the border policy, all the policies, especially in the national security area, they just never sort of think through what's going to be the result of their, I think, very misguided policies.
Yeah, but the general problem is that nobody's at fault. It's like, oh yeah, we left $80 billion worth of military equipment here that is now being used to probably suppress some of these very women in the streets. Listen to what Secretary Blinken had to say.
There are going to be costs if this is not reversed, if this is not changed. Not going to detail them today, but we will pursue them in coordination with allies and partners.
Oh, there's going to be costs. That sounds real convincing.
Yeah, you know, they have no leverage left. So he can yammer on all he wants to do about costs and prices that the Taliban is going to say. But in effect, the way they left Afghanistan, it means that we have no leverage at all. I mean, we're pleading. And, you know, if you're trying to negotiate without leverage, you're not really negotiating, Carl. You're begging. And so that's really all he's doing. He's begging the Taliban to be to women.
Yeah. Oh, there will be costs. Will you take that administration over the guy who dropped the most powerful 20,000-pound non-nuclear explosive on the side of a mountain and eliminated terrorists? I think the Taliban was much more willing to stay in line under President Trump. Now, a major congressional probe into Afghanistan is gearing up, obviously, for the new Congress, because Democrats would never hold themselves accountable. Biden, you know, might think he can dismiss any Hunter Biden probes as a witch hunt, but he will not be able to fend off this wave of subpoenas and requests for testimony and documents. I'm kind of really ticked off that there's not more bipartisan support for an investigation over this. Are you?
Well, no, I think that there will be some bipartisan support, and here's why. You know, look, everybody now with hindsight realizes that the Biden administration made massive mistakes. Republicans realize it, Democrats realize it. So I don't think that there are a lot of Democrats on Capitol Hill who are going to want to run interference for Joe Biden's policies. Sure. The second thing, though, is that if they do start having investigations, what will happen? The people who will be called to testify will be particularly the military leaders who are now retired. These are the military people who they're going to be under oath, and they're going to be asked questions like, well, did you recommend to the Biden administration that the United States would withdraw military forces before they got all the civilians out? Did you recommend to President Biden that Bagram Air Base should be closed before we got our people out? And those military officers, now retired, under oath, I think are going to tell the truth. Because the third part of all this, and I'm sure you were hearing the same things a couple of years ago, Carl, the national security community was buzzing with the idea that, well, the civilian leadership recommended to Biden that we have a phased withdrawal, that we leave troops behind, that we don't leave civilians behind, we get the civilians out before the military. And they were all talking about that, well, at the 11th hour, President Biden himself personally overruled the military and the civilian leadership. Yeah. Now, the question is going to be, will all those people want to continue to cover for Joe Biden? Or will they say, wait a minute, I'm not going to continue to do this. Our recommendations were not followed. And it was President Biden personally, not the Secretary of State, not the National Security Advisor, but in the Oval Office at the desk of the President of the United States. From
the same guy who didn't want to go in and get Osama bin Laden. So it's not beyond the realm of possibilities. KT McFarland, Merry Christmas. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.